What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today is December 19th of 2022. I wanted to do a quick video before tonight's Monday Night Football game between the Green Bay Packers and the Los Angeles Rams to talk about a pretty big riddle connected to solar eclipses that I found. Before we get into that, I want to take a look at the surface numerology, so to speak. Something interesting stood out right away when I looked at the franchise records for both of these teams. Notice how the Packers have 589 franchise losses. This is the same number as the LA Rams, their opponent tonight. Also, 589 losses in their history. What made this especially intriguing is that the last Packers game, they played against the Chicago Bears, and going into that game, both teams had 786 wins. And by winning that game, the Packers became the winningest franchise in NFL history, surpassing the Bears for the first time in over 100 years. So this alignment stands out, and it means the losing team tonight will get their 590th loss. And the number 590 represents the number 59 in numerology. And there's a bit of a two-way riddle here. First of all, if the Rams win, it means that both teams will be 5-9 on the season. Meanwhile, if the Packers win, it would keep Sean McVay on 59 career victories for the Rams, while also giving them their 590th loss of all time. 59 is a prime number. That would be the 17th prime number, and tonight's game has numerology, reduced numerology of 17. It also happens to fall 17 days after the birthday of Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay quarterback. Another alignment that jumped out right away is that if you look at the franchise matchup history between these two clubs, you'll find that they're tied at 46 wins apiece in the regular season. Matt LaFleur, the coach of the Green Bay Packers, is currently sitting on 46 wins in his career if you include his 2 playoff victories. So he's looking for his 47th win tonight, and so are the Packers against the Rams all time. If they win, it'll also be their 47th. Today happens to be 46 days after Matt LaFleur's birthday, and if you include the end date, it's 47 days. So this seems to point to Green Bay, but then again, the 59 seems to point to LA. So let me tell you why I think that the code actually shows us that Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers will be taking home the victory tonight. Of course, this is no groundbreaking prediction. The Packers are favored. I think they're negative 360 to win tonight on the money line. They have all their wide receivers healthy for the first time all year, so things are looking up in the north there, in the frozen tundra. So recently on my calculator, I added this new feature where you can navigate to the next solar or lunar eclipse. And I was poking around with today's date, December 19th here. And I noticed that there was a very powerful alignment to a very, very significant eclipse that occurred in 2020. Of course, there were a couple of significant eclipses, but I want to explain why this one was so important. Notice how tonight's game is 911 days after the annular middle eclipse from Saros 137. This was the first middle eclipse in almost 30 years, since 1991. A middle eclipse is the middle eclipse of a Saros series. Remember, in a Saros series, eclipses are separated by a little over 18 years. And in 2020, in June of that year, we had the 36th eclipse of 70 in the Saros. So this one had the greatest eclipse closest to the center of the Earth than any other eclipse in the series. And this was Saros series 137. And consider how important of an eclipse number that is. When you use capital letters, the word eclipse sums to 137. This is the 33rd prime number, and eclipse also equals 33 in reduction. So why is it so important that we're 911 days after that eclipse? Well, notice how the point of greatest eclipse in northern India was directly overhead the state of Uttarakhand in India. And Uttarakhand is actually a relatively new state. It was founded on the 9th of November in 2000, the date that you can write internationally as 9/11. In fact, this was the last date that you could write 9/11 before the attacks of 9/11 the following year, September 11th, 2001. Notice how in the standard alphabetic order, Uttarakhand sums to 119. Founded on the 11th of November. On top of that, if you measure from the 9/11 attacks in 2001 to the date of tonight's game, it's still 1,109 weeks later. Aaron Rodgers will be going up against Baker Mayfield in this game, and as I've been discussing frequently on my videos, anything to do with Baker Mayfield is typically a riddle connected to Ronald Reagan. Notice how his middle name is Reagan. Meanwhile, Ronald Reagan's middle name is Wilson, which is the name that sits on an NFL football. Notice how using Latin Gematria, the name Wilson sums to 1109. When you flip the number 911 upside down, you get the digits 116. Using the reverse alphabetic order, Packers sums to 116. Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers was born on a date with primary numerology of 116. And if you measure from tonight's game to the next Great American Total Solar Eclipse, which takes place in April of 2024, we find that tonight's game is exactly 1 year and 16 weeks before that eclipse. On top of that, today is also 116 days before the birthday of Baker Mayfield. And when you measure from the birthday of Aaron Rodgers to Baker Mayfield, you get exactly 11 years and 19 weeks. So this number 911 that we're talking about, 911 is another prime number divisible only by 1 and itself. Notice how it's the 156th prime number. Tonight, Aaron Rodgers, including his 11 playoff victories, is going for his 156th win in his career. In ancient Hebrew, the word for eclipse sums to 156. And this is because every eclipse, whether solar or lunar, is always 1, 5, or 6 lunar phases after the last one. In the English alphabet, the number 33 sums to 156. And again, remember, eclipse equals 33. So Aaron Rodgers currently has 144 regular season victories. Well, if he wins tonight, he'll have his 145th. And using capital letters, notice how Packers sums to 145. The state of Uttarakhand in India also has 145 Gematria with capital letters. The last time Aaron Rodgers played Baker Mayfield, I even did a whole video on it. This was the Matrix Super Stream, which talked about Aaron Rodgers and how he's tied to the franchise. The Matrix film came out 3 days before Christmas, which is, again, when Rodgers played Baker Mayfield back when he was still with the Browns. Tonight's game has numerology of 73 and 37. And these are the numbers that India shares with Packers. Again, this all connected to the big eclipse over India 911 days later. India also has overlapping gematria with LA Rams. Notice the 98 especially because Baker has double gematria of 98. And last week, Baker Mayfield led the Rams on a miraculous 98-yard game-winning drive just 2 days after he was traded to the team. Wild stuff there. But there's another annular eclipse that's connected to this game. It's not just this one over India. Check out how Green Bay Packers is a virtual super match with annular eclipse. 150, 228, 84, and 69. Well, in the year 2021, just less than a year after this annular eclipse, there was an annular eclipse that started just north of Green Bay. You'll see Wisconsin's right here on this map. And this eclipse began just north. Well, if you measure from this eclipse, June 10th of 2021, to tonight's game, You get 558 days. And using English Standard Gematria, the name Aaron Rodgers sums to 558. Rodgers has missed significant portions of 2 different NFL seasons. In both instances, he suffered a broken collarbone, which equals 558. Of course, Rodgers has that 83 birthday. The word football sums to 83. So do the phrases solar eclipse and total eclipse in Hebrew. And currently, on the Hebrew calendar, we're in the year 5783. So you would call that the year 83 like we do with Gregorian, just like the year that Rodgers was born. On top of that, speaking of the Hebrew calendar, today is also the first day of Hanukkah. Again, sunset last night, making this the first day of Hanukkah. Now, in Jewish or Latin Gematria, notice how Hanukkah sums to 278. Well, if you measure back from the first Great American Eclipse over the United States, today is exactly 278 weeks after that eclipse. And don't forget, Green Bay, Wisconsin has the same gematria as total solar eclipse. And the whole NFL is coded around the eclipse code. The NFL began in 1920, the year it was founded. Eclipse equals 192. In Latin ordinal, eclipse equals 66. And think about this. The 66 season is the first year we had a Super Bowl. And then the 69 season is the first year that the AFC and NFC teams started playing regular season games against each other. And think about how Pac equals 13 and 31, like the ultimate eclipse number, 1331. The Packers were founded in the year 1919. So many deep eclipse riddles with the NFL. Now, there's just a handful of Jewish players in the NFL. One of them is A.J. Dillon. And notice how he's exactly 33 weeks after his birthday. And the name Dillon equals 33 to go along with this eclipse code. A couple more alignments for tonight that I wanted to talk about. First of all, I mentioned this Baker Mayfield riddle with Ronald Reagan. And check out how old Baker Mayfield is for tonight's game. He'll be a span of exactly 10,102 days old. And this stood out right away to me because when Ronald Reagan died, he was exactly 1,120 months old. So we have that 112. And as I've been saying for months, this is the number that Baker Mayfield has stamped all over him. Notice how Baker Mayfield equals 112 ordinal. His full name is 112 in reverse reduction. This connects us to Ronald Reagan, who was born in the small city of Tampico, Illinois. And notice how Tampico sums to 112, dying at exactly 1,120 months old. Also, one more riddle to unpack with Aaron Rodgers and his coach Matt LaFleur. If you measure between the birthdays of Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, you get exactly 4 years and 1 month, like the number 41. And in reduction, Green Bay equals 41. So does Rodgers, 41. And how funny is it that Aaron Rodgers has a running back named Aaron, who also shares his December 2nd birthday. Aaron Jones was born in 1994, which is another number connected to this total solar eclipse code. 994, total solar eclipse. But if you measure from Aaron Jones' birthday, December 2nd, 1994, to the birthday of A.J. Dillon, again, one of just a handful of Jewish players, the other running back for the Packers, notice how he was also born on the 2nd, May 2nd of 1998. That means he and Aaron Jones were born exactly 41 months apart to go along with that Green Bay riddle, the same number that connects Rodgers and LaFleur. Now, the name LaFleur connects to Peter Faber, or Peter Lafleur, one of the founders of the Jesuit order. Notice how Peter Faber was also known as Favre, and the last Hall of Fame quarterback that the Packers had was Brett Favre. Now, Peter Faber again, a founder of the Jesuits, and it wasn't until a Jesuit became pope when he became canonized. And that happened in the year 2013, like 213. Well, if you measure between the birthdays of Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, you'll find it's also a span of exactly 213 weeks apart. Tonight they play against the Los Angeles Rams. Los Angeles, home to the 213 dialing code. And tonight's game will be on a Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football. Summing to 213 ordinal. So I do like the Packers. Again, nothing groundbreaking here. They're favored to win. They'll probably win regardless of what numbers say. But nonetheless, worth checking into the deeper riddle that seems to really slam the door shut on this one. All right, guys. Peace, love, God bless. Again, this work is listener-supported, viewer-supported as of October. So thanks to everybody who signed up so far. More improvements to come to the site, especially when it comes to decoding the NFL that we should have up next year. I'm really looking forward to it. All right, guys. We'll talk to you next time. See ya.